Hollywood Nights is on YouTube, which is pretty cool. Actually, American Graffiti's on YouTube now too. I had to watch Hollywood Nights. I only ever had a chance to see that movie once, and I had to watch it when I saw it was on there. Of course, Project X is on that movie, so that had my attention because I'm a '57 Chevy guy, and I grew up with Project X when in the '80s when Project X was really big block, supercharger, cool. I mean, I watched that thing every magazine that came out with Project X I bought, which I guess that's why they had it. It worked for me. I'll tell you, I was on the hook, and I'm watching that movie, looking at that car. It was a pretty cool piece, pretty nostalgic, pretty cool piece, and pure '57 Chevy. And I'm looking at the thing now with what they did to it. GM got a hold of that thing several years back, and man, it ain't even a '57 Chevy anymore. It sort of looks like one, but it's Pro Touring and then their version of styling. I can't take anything away from the quality of work they did on the car, but I can sure as hell take away from what they did to the car. Because that car had a history. That thing had, real history. Most car guys followed that thing. Even if you weren't a Chevy guy, you kind of followed that thing a little bit. And I may have followed it a little more than most because I was always a '57 Chevy freak from day one. I bought every magazine that had a '57 Chevy. I built every model of car that was a '57 Chevy. My first car was a '57 Chevy. I drew them all the time as a kid in school. I was a '57 Chevy. So maybe I'm a little more offended by this than a lot of people, but to me, they just foobarred that car 100%. Everybody flipped and they put an electric motor in it. I didn't really care that much because as far as I was concerned, they'd already destroyed that car long before they put an electric motor in it. And also I knew the electric motor could come out just as easy as it went in, and they did. They put a 632 in it now. So, good for them, but it's still kind of it's not Project X anymore. They keep calling it Project X, but it's not Project X, and it'll never be Project X again. I don't know why the hell people do stuff like that. You don't. It would honestly, to me, it would be as stupid as taking a numbers matching very rare muscle car and cutting it up and doing something like that. It's just, why the hell would you do that? It's never going to be the same car. Something like this, the dude that chopped this top was a hack. There's no getting around that. He was a hack, and half destroyed this thing. We figured out a way to kind of fudge it and make everything work, but they came pretty close to ruining this car, but nobody would really care. The thing was sitting in a field. It was just a rusty old pile with no driveline, no nothing. It had no future. It was, so what the hell? Chop the top on it, do what you want. No harm, no foul. If it works out, great. If it doesn't work out, well, you've lost your time. But this, this had no history. Nobody gave half a damn about this car. Totally different set of circumstances. Something like Project X, everybody knew Project X. Everybody followed Project X. And to me, maybe I'm overreacting. I guess if I'm overreacting, just say the word, but comment below. But I remember when they got the car out and they started working on it, and I thought, wow, that's pretty cool. We're going to see Project X again. And then I saw what they were doing to it, and I got less and less interested as that project went on. Looked to me like, they were just killing it. And then if you go back and watch Hollywood Nights and you go look at the car now, there's nothing there the same. It was a modified car. That's what it was for. It was for modifying, I guess, in the magazine. So maybe I'm looking at this all wrong, but I think that thing had survived the test of time long enough and become an icon that you don't screw with an icon. To me, you're not gonna replace the stars on the flag with rainbows for everybody and have that go well. You're not gonna do it, and that's, you're at a certain point when something becomes part of society, you don't turn around and desecrate it like that, and they did. Modified cars can go a number of different ways. You'll see some people do them. You know, some of the old stuff that was modified years ago, you see it come back out, and even if it was a bit freaky, it come back out. When you see it now, it's kind of cool because you know it's an old hot rod from an old famous builder and whatnot. But again, there's some history there. That almost flies in the face of people saying Project X was modified. 'Cause it was modified years ago and became an icon. The same as like you dig out something Roth did there years ago. You're going to bring that out and show it off. And hell, I would hope somebody wouldn't take it and try and make a pro touring out of it. You know, it had history from what it was at that time. I think they need to respect it. But I don't know. Like I say, if I'm overreacting, well, so be it. I'm overreacting. Scold me, but now I've overreacted before, and now I'm not as offended by it. But I remember in the 80s, early 90s, something like that. We were at a car show. The guy had a Superbird, you know, and big fender flares on it, and custom paint job, and it was all lacquered, and like green and pink and white, all kinds of crap on it there, stripes everywhere. Had the frog machine written down the back quarter, which was appropriate, really. And I was looking at that thing thinking, oh my God. Now, I saw that car a few years ago. It's still got the same paint job on it. It looks exactly the same, except, you know, the old lacquer's starting to crack and it's showing its age a little bit. It was actually sort of cool that the thing survived, you know, that long, like that. I'm sure the same guy still has it. And yeah, honestly, that car wouldn't take a hell of a lot to restore and put back. I mean, you can buy quarters for them now and everything else, so you could put it right back, you know, stock restoration. I guess no harm, no foul. Thing's worth a bloody fortune now. Back at the time when he did it, I suppose it wasn't, but it was, you know, as I say, I was real offended then, and I'm not so much now. It was very interesting to see the thing because I hadn't seen it in 30 years probably, and then it popped back up, and then I actually saw it again cruising down the interstate one day. So it somebody got it back out of the mothballs at some point, and it really didn't offend me near as much anymore. In Project X, I had kind of got over thinking how bad it was until I saw Hollywood Nights, and I saw what the car used to be, and I was like, yeah, I think I'm offended again. So, just curious how you guys feel about taking something like that that's made a stamp on all of us and then throwing a great big change at it. Doesn't feel right to me, but maybe it's just me.